In 2013, this is where I decided to take my own life.
My name is Nathan Birch. I am originally from the UK, but I've lived in Sydney for 15 years, and I'm the CEO of Interbrand in Australia and New Zealand. I'm very lucky. I live on the North Shore of Sydney, in a place called Seaforth, which is as close to heaven as I've seen on Earth. We're 5 minutes away from an amazing beach. We're surrounded by amazing nature and crazy animals that, as a young boy being brought up in Yorkshire, I only dreamt about and read in books, right? So for me, it's an amazing place to bring up a family. I'm very lucky to be married to Prudence, my amazing wife, Prue, as she likes to be known, who we met in London almost 25 years ago. And equally lucky to be the father of 3 amazing kids. Matilda, who's 15. I've got Edith, who's 10, and Florence, who is 5, and all are very different. And it would be remiss of me not to mention the dog, Scout, as well. We also have a cat, but let's leave that as it is. Growing up through life, very, very kind of easy childhood, stable family life. I did get a job which was relatively high pressure, but nothing that would suggest, in retrospect to me, that it would have triggered any mental health issues.
He was leaning on me, but wanting to keep a lot of it to himself as well. And I think that's where the spiral kind of started.
One of the contributing factors was the isolation of moving away from those groups of friends, the school friends and the university friends and family, but being away from those guys that you've got that shared stories, the history, from school or university. That was, I think, definitely a contributing factor. And I moved in my 30s, and making friends in your 30s as a man is, well, it's partly you can't be bothered anymore, and it's just difficult when life gets in the way, work gets in the way, children get in the way. You don't have that same common bond.
It's really interesting because I am a fixer. I am, and I have always been, and it's my blessing and my curse in some ways. I love fixing situations, and I couldn't fix it. So he flicked between being larger than life and gregarious and happy to the most ridiculous thing could set him off. He would lose his temper over really tiny, minutiae things, and then that suddenly stopped. And he stopped being angry, and he stopped shouting, or he stopped throwing temper tantrums and driving off or doing whatever. And it stopped and it went quiet. And that was when I went, oh, something really weird's happened. There's a shift. How I could support was probably the most frustrating thing for me. I didn't feel I could because I wasn't equipped. I needed to get help to deal with what was happening in our life. So I did. I
was very fortunate to meet a guy, I think quite randomly. He was another English guy, a big gregarious Englishman. We just, on so many levels, just connected. It was very unusual when you're in your mid-30s. And he was a similar situation. He had a beautiful wife, 2 young kids, and he was genuinely probably what I'd say my closest friend in Australia. But at the time, probably from about 2010, behind closed doors, I had increasingly 2 kind of competing issues that I was both a fraud and a failure. And again, it sounds so counterintuitive, but I had a great wife, beautiful kids, everybody was healthy. I've got a lovely house in an amazing part of the world, and I'm in a stable job. And there was no reason, but I just thought that I hadn't done enough in life, despite everything which surrounded me. I got increasingly, effectively angry with life. I could feel anger raging in me for these reasons which I couldn't kind of resolve myself. And that, I realized, started me withdrawing away from friends and family, and and my wife. You know, I used to ride into work. Those moments on the motorbike when I put my helmet on and I could quite often used to scream into the helmet going across the Sydney Harbour Bridge because I was frustrated. I was frustrated with where life had taken me. Suicidal thoughts started to manifest themselves in a very, very different way.
He was spending a lot of time late at night down here. I would come down and I could tell he'd been crying, or I could tell he'd been, I could tell that he was getting to a point where I knew something was going to happen.
You know, we're sitting here in my garage. I decided I was going to take my own life. I was very methodical in the way I'd planned it out. I'd written a letter. I'd been through the situation with, okay, I wouldn't want my wife to find me in that situation. I wouldn't want my kids to find me in that situation. So I'd almost rehearsed it.
I took this moment to go, if I can't stop it happening, if I come down one night and something's happened, what do I do?
I was very, very close. Until I got a call and the guy on the other end said, hey, you don't know me, but I'm a friend of my friend, and I'm sorry to tell you, but he's passed away. And I think I'd spoken to him the week before, and I was shocked. And the first question in my mind was, well, what's happened? And quite rightly, you know, the guy on the other end of the phone was quite reluctant to tell me, but then he told me that the evening before decided to take his own life. I think that was such a shock, not only for the death of my friend, or my best friend in Australia, but the realization that he kept it to himself, and the realization that I was probably going to do the same thing. Yeah, that was a moment where things changed.
I stopped talking at him. I stopped saying, you need to try and get your head together. You need to get some help. Doing that was wrong. The communication style of me fixing and telling and taking action to actually, I need to just listen to what's going on, and I need to listen to this situation rather than have an opinion on it. It almost gave him a change of, this is all me, this is all with me, and actually let's support each other. And even just those small moments where we just kind of sat here and didn't say anything and held each other's hand, and I shut up for a minute, was almost the start of changing how we were going to tackle this.
That was my wake-up call. Tragic circumstances led me to effectively take the first step, and that was admit to myself that I had a problem, that I couldn't fix it myself. It was not something which time was going to solve. This idea of, you know, being a strong man or a strong father or a strong husband and protecting people and not talking about these things is not actually strong. It's actually a weakness, because it does, it manifests itself in such tragic circumstances. You can literally save people's lives by talking like this. You know, I don't care if you don't donate money, I don't care if you don't ride, but very, very few things in life come free. But to be given the opportunity to help someone, to save their life by a conversation, I think is amazing.